Good evening, ma'am. So, we are the group 2 and we are here to present our research. Our title is Assignment on the Implementation of Curfew Ordinances in the Municipality of Dagami, Leyte. So, introduction. Nature and background to the study. Nowadays, people has always experienced a variety of changes, especially we are now living in a new normal wherein there is always a restriction. One of these is curfew. On these days of pandemic, it has been imposed to lessen the instances that people might be infected from the virus, and curfew had made of the belief that it deters crimes, harm, threat, and victimization. Through this insight, the researcher want to know the level of implementation of curfew ordinances and the perception of the respondents to the programs conducted by their respective barangay to the violators of the curfew ordinances.
Research objectives. Number 1, to assess the respondents' demographic profile, age, gender, address, or barangay. 2, to determine the penalty that the municipality has imposed on curfew violators. 3, to determine the level of awareness of the selected respondents on the curfew ordinances of the municipality. And 4, determine the effectiveness of the municipality's curfew implementation.
Chapter 3 Methodology. In research design, this study uses quantitative research design, where quantitative research methods are used to assess the implementation of curfew ordinance in selected barangays of the municipality of Dagami. In research instruments, this study will be using a research-made questionnaire, where it intends to use series of questions to collect and gather statistical data about the implementation of curfew ordinance in Barangay Lapu-Lapu, Barangay San Jose, and Barangay San Roque of the Municipality of Dagami. The questionnaire is divided into 4 parts, where the part 1 is the demographic profile of the respondents such as age, gender, and address. Part 2 is the penalties of curfew ordinance. Part 3 examines the level of awareness of the respondents in regards to the curfew ordinance of the municipality. Last is the Part 4, where it examines the effectiveness of the implementation of curfew ordinances.
Research Locale. The research will be carried out in the municipality of Dagami. The researchers chose this municipality because this is the closest area to where the researchers reside, and also they will be able to obtain a large amount of important data for the study.
Next, data gathering procedure. With an allotted time, the researcher realized the objective of the study and followed the definite procedure. First, the researcher developed questionnaires and draft letters of request of barangay captains or respondents which they need submitted to the research advisor for approval. Second, once the questionnaire and request letters have been approved by the research advisor, researchers will begin to send letters to barangay captains seeking permission to distribute survey questionnaires to respondents. Third, the researcher will begin the study after receiving approval from barangay captain. Finally, the researcher will begin to analyze and interpret the collective data. So, this is the documentation, statistical treatment. To determine the demographic profile of the respondent, frequency and percentage are utilized. So, percentage equals to frequency over number of respondent times 100. So, that's our formula. So, next is age. So, this implies the majority of age was 36 and above years old, and the lowest was 31 to 35 years old. So, among pinaka-highest is 36 and above years old. So, kadilotitan gender is the majority of respondents are males with a percentage of 51.67% and the female has 48.33% in the study. This implies that the majority of the respondents are males. So table 3 presented the penalties in violation to the curfew. So actually ma'am, gin specific lang namon ang tutulong nga offense and first offense. So yan na first offense maintaining. So next table is second offense and third offense. So para makita namon kung hain talaga ang specific nga penalty and mas aware ang mga respondent. So this implies that 100% of respondents are very much aware of the penalty of stern warning. So stern warning ang pinaka aware nira nga penalty. So pagkadilat ang second offense is this implies that 93.33% of respondent is always aware in the penalty of community service for at least 2 to 16 hours. So amo nira kuan 93.33% ang pinakadako nga percent, which is community service for at least 2 to 16 hours. Pagka the third offense is the penalty of fine and above as the highest, the penalty of fine of 2.5 and above as the highest percentage of 26.67, but it must be fully disseminated. Most of the respondent has a higher percentage of not being aware. So utay man gud nga percentage nga ni diri gud na ka 100%. So siguro ini nga third offense is diri pa gud nira aware ang mga penalty. So pagka table 4 what is presented the level of awareness in curfew ordinances imposed in Dagami, Leyte. So this implies that the majority of the level of awareness in curfew ordinances imposed in Dagami, Leyte is always aware that the implementation of curfew helps in preventing crimes and other possible threats. This implies that the majority of effectiveness of the implementation of curfew ordinances is always effective because they felt safer and more secure upon the implementation of the said curfew ordinances. So nga dila tanan effectiveness of implementation of curfew ordinances. So
Chapter 5, Summary, Conclusion, and Recommendation. In summary findings, in terms of age, 36 and above years old is the one with the highest percentage of 35%. In gender, the highest majority is the male with a percentage of 51.67%. In level of awareness of the penalties in violation to the curfew ordinances, the result or the finding have the highest mean of 100%, which is very much aware that the penalty of stern warning, and 55% of the penalty for community service for at least 2 to 16 hours. In level of awareness in curfew ordinances imposed in Dagami, Leyte, the result or findings on this study has also the highest mean of 4.90%, which is always aware that the implementation of curfew helps in preventing crimes and other possible threats. And on the effectiveness of the implementation of curfew ordinances, the findings of the study have the highest mean of 4.90%, which is always effective that they felt safer and more secured upon the implementation of the said curfew ordinance.
In conclusion, the respondents are very much aware on the penalties in violating the curfew ordinances. The level of awareness of the respondents in curfew ordinances imposed in Dagami, Leyte is that they know that the curfew ordinance helps in preventing crimes and other possible threats. And on the effectiveness of the implementation of curfew ordinance is that they felt safer and more secured upon the implementation.
next, data gathering procedure. With an allotted time, the researcher realized the object of the study and followed the definite procedure. First, the researcher first develop questionnaires and draft letters of request of barangay captains or respondents which they need submitted to the research advisor for approval. Second, once the questionnaire and request letters have been approved by the research advisor, researchers will begin to send letters to barangay captains seeking permission to distribute survey questionnaires to respondents. Third, the researcher will begin the study after receiving approval from barangay captain. Finally, the researcher will begin to analyze and interpret the collective data. So this is the documentation. Next, the statistical treatment. To determine the demographic profile of the respondent, frequency and percentage are utilized. So that's our formula. So this is the age of the respondent. So as you can see, ma'am, so the highest percentage is age. No, there is